You walk down the main street of any town and some windows just jump out at you and some you could quite happily walk past. Would that be the case?
Yeah, absolutely. Just generally, aesthetics, it's all around us, whether we're aware of it or not. But it's when people use aesthetics to actually drive sales and to make a pleasant environment, and even more so than pleasant, that's when you'll see progress within business. Even outside of just being down the street, if you think about what's around you, it can change your mood, can change your tendency, how you're feeling, and that itself can affect sales. Even up to 70% of sales, they said a while ago, was impulsive sales and unplanned sales.
Right.
As far as window displays go throughout the year, there are always particular themes and they often don't change. They're on an annual cycle. So the more that you can address, the better. It's not always so manageable to do that because there's a lot of work involved. But it's not just the window, it's throughout the store as well. Even though those themes repeat themselves every year, it's what you do with those themes. It's the variation, and variation can come in many forms. So it might be, Christmas might be the most simple idea to think about, so it's endless. I think your inspiration has to come from so many different places. Communicating with people, networking, speaking, dinner time conversations. If you're actually interested in that kind of thing and you want the best for your business, not just to drive sales, but for your own satisfaction, it's something that you can talk about to your customers during work hours and outside of work hours with your friends. And the whole idea is to draw attention. Everyone's busy. They walk quickly, their mind is full. So your window needs to grab them, and you've only got a couple of seconds to do that. You don't want to overload a visual scenario, and you don't want to choke your product as well by overloading a visual display. And that could be, as I said before, right throughout the store or in the window. So even walking into a store, attracted by the window, you decide that's the shop. I've got 5 minutes. That's the shop I'm choosing. I want to go in. And again, going back to the 70% of impulse sales, generally if you have the time to go in, perhaps you want to browse, because really if you're after something, you already knew you were going to that store.
Right.
So if your attention has been caught, it's because you want a quick look. So they've got you in there. So that's the first part of what you're aiming for. Then once you're in the store, the customer needs to be kept in there, and that's done in a range of ways. So, you walk in, you don't want everything hitting you as soon as you walk in. So even the way you place your shelves is important. Height, the density of what's been placed. You need to draw people to the back of the store. And there's so much psychology involved in successful planning of a store to increase sales again. So much research has gone into department stores, full-time people employed to help them place their products within that floor and also within the entire store. So they already know the difference between genders and what people go for between women and men, generally speaking, the kinds of shoppers they are, and people will go into a store to buy a particular thing. But if you have placed things correctly in the store to the best of your knowledge at the time, we know on a large scale all the department stores have the budgets and they have the people to do these things. But for rural retailers, you can still take little pieces of that information and use that within the main street of Kilmore, within wherever you are. You're not talking about a department store. You might have a very small store. So you're very limited with what you can do in that space.
Right.
However, it is amazing what you can do using those techniques and theories, putting them into place, but just on a much smaller scale. A number of things come into play. You could have the same pile of items in front of you, and what you can do with those things is incredible. So you might have that pile of books that you want to draw everyone's attention, and you could put them out depending on what's underneath them, the light that's shining on them, the visibility, the texture and colour that's used in the surrounds of the product to appeal to our senses. And it's not all visual. I say visual merchandising, but there are so many more elements that can be used, including the smell of a shop once you've been drawn in by the window and how the books were placed or the dresses. And that first 3 seconds is extremely important.
Absolutely.
I think the signage is also very important. So it's quite easy to buy signage to give us the 50% off or 10%, whatever it is that we're offering. En masse, they're available. But I think if you put some time into the way that you're advertising that sale, it might strike a different chord with us, because we're so used to seeing the same kind of fluorescent colours behind a sign telling us what's off. Yeah. It's something to experiment with, but I tend to think give people something to want to walk in. Don't make it so obvious what that percentage is off. It'll excite people anyway. And I think if what you have in the window is something that's appealing, that's going to get the shopper to take the step over the threshold of the store and get them in there. And then you can delight them even further with what that extends to. But I don't think you should give everything away in the window.
No. It's a teaser almost, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.